What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner?
Welcome back to my channel. So in this video, we're going to look at different scenarios when people realize that they need to get out of that relationship. That epiphany moment where they said, we need to get out of this relationship. I think there's a coach that made the first initial video and people started stitching it and reacting and then sharing their story. Now let's check it out. Let's check people's story. Then I'll come and tell you my own story. The time where one of my I won't call it a relationship because at the end of the day I was in the whole thing by myself. I was being deceived and I did not know. But when I discovered that I was in a thing that had no name and I was thinking I was in a relationship, I don't know. The relationship before the one that I want to talk about, I discovered that it was being funny by checking his phone. And I said I would not check anybody's phone after that one. I just wanted to just go into relationships without distrust or anything. But that person used my phone to check his Facebook account. So, and forgot to log out. Now, the next time I picked up my phone and I saw, this is not my Facebook account. This is not my Facebook page. And I decided, it didn't click on time until I started looking at the messages, private messages. That's what it's called. I don't know what it's called. I've forgotten. But looking at the messages, and then I was seeing things, and I was like, okay, something is going up. But let's check other people's story, then I will complete my story at the end.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner? I'll go first. My ex-husband and I had been in couples therapy for many months, and at our very last appointment, the therapist looked at my husband and said, "Do you think she needs to be on more antidepressants?" And I was on Zoloft at the time, and he nodded yes. And she turned to me and said, "Maybe you need to up your dose." And that was the moment where I realized that if I need to be on more drugs to stay in this relationship, then it's not the one for me. What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner?
It's when I literally was on my way to work, going to catch the bus, and the 1 minute I was standing, the next minute I was on the ground in the dust because I had fainted. And some random stranger had to pick me up. On my way to work, before 6 a.m., I had collapsed in a queue for a Palco bus, just dark times. And this savior Shem, poor guy, knew where I lived, scooped me up, right? And advised everybody that, okay, I know where she lives, I will take her home. He proceeded to carry me all the way home. All the while I am coherent, I am awake, and I'm looking into his face, and all I can say is, yo. And his responses with every yo was, "Cause of our rights, sis. Cause of our rights, sis. Cause of our rights, sis." Guys, I promptly after, recouping, taking a nap, went to the doctor. He said, "There's nothing wrong. We are go." I can laugh about this because Shem, poor guy, he just knew. And all I could say is that he got it without actually communicating anything.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner?
We had a really big fight, and one of his friends saw the nasty part of the fight, and it's because some people had called him to say, "Come and see, your friends are fighting this side, yada yada." So when he came, he broke us apart and he decided to walk me to where I was staying. And I remember just him trying to encourage me, "No, you guys are going to be okay. You always pull through these things." Yeah, just the usual that the boys will do. And so I looked at him and said, look, if your sister was dating this guy, would you encourage her to keep holding on, to fight for the relationship? He looked me dead in the eyes and said, no, I wouldn't. That moment right there, I knew there was nothing to fight for.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner? I'll go first.
He came over for my birthday with no birthday present and instead had me cook for him, let him nap in my bed. Then he leaves midday and says he needs to fly out for a work meeting. Well, the work meeting ended up being him flying out to California to sleep with and stay with his ex-girlfriend, who clearly did not know that she was the ex at the time, and I knew this from my Finsta, so yeah, he came crawling back in the best way, like for part 2.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner? I'll go first.
My moment came as my partner's response to us having a disagreement was, maybe we learn to love so that we could go out into the world and love and be better partners for other people. We were having this discussion in the middle of a little tiny restaurant, and our table was right in the middle of the restaurant. As I looked at his face and I waited for him to say, hey, I'm just kidding, or offer further explanation, my eyes started to well up with tears. He was very stoic at first. And so I'm in the middle of this restaurant and I'm dabbing these tears away because they will not stop flowing. And I look over at him and he has a smirk on his face. That was my moment. That was the moment I realized that there was some level of pleasure that he was getting from seeing me in pain. That was the moment I let him go.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner?
Mine was when I had my daughter and she was 8 weeks old, and it was about 7 a.m. and we were sleeping, and she was a cluster feeder, so I was up all night feeding her, and he wanted to work out in my bedroom. I had a 4-bedroom house that I paid for. There were so many places to work out, so I asked, hey, can you work out in a different room and not blare music in here while me and the baby are sleeping? And he said, no, why don't you just move to the couch? And I said, that's weird. And he threw a whole fit, threw my fan across the room, started calling me all these names, and said if maybe I got my lazy fat whale ass up, I wouldn't look the way I do. And then told me to shut the fuck up. And so then I did shut the fuck up, and then he yelled at me for shutting the fuck up, and then he came over and punched me in the face and started choking me and then ripped my baby from my arms. And that was, yeah, that was the epiphany moment. I had to decide, if I don't leave, either myself or my daughter will be dead. So I left.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner?
Well, this was embarrassing. So it was when he actually created a physical barrier between us in bed. Things weren't okay. I was feeling that he was rejecting me for the past couple of months, but I just didn't want to deal with it because I had too much on my plate. So this night we went to bed and he was acting kind of weird, like he was a scared child, like playing and stuff, and suddenly he just puts a pillow between us. And at that moment I was like, okay, I'm done. And I grabbed his face, I smiled and said, you're pretty done with me, aren't you? Yes, with this face. And it was 2 a.m. in the morning, and I just got out of bed. I packed my shit, grabbed my toothbrush from the bathroom, and I left. And it was fucking humiliating. Don't recommend.
What was your epiphany moment that it was time to break up with your partner?
So, when I was in 3rd year university, I used to date this guy that was teaching at the university that I was attending as an undergraduate student. He was really hot and really smart, but a little bit toxic. I wanted to do a master's degree, but I didn't have any money, and so I was gonna need to apply for some scholarships to go. So one day I told him about this scholarship that I had found that was worth $17,500 and told him that I wanted to apply. This man looked at me and said to me, and I quote, "Do you really think you're smart enough to get that scholarship? It would be a huge waste of your time to even apply." Nobody tells me what I can and can't do. So I applied for the scholarship anyway, worked really hard, then I dumped him, and then a few months later I got a phone call saying that I had won the scholarship for $17,500 and another one for $15,000, so I had a free ride through my master's, and then I did a PhD as well. Hooray!
Okay,
That last one was very horrible. Thank God she got a master's and a PhD. And why would you tell somebody, do you think you're smart enough? At least you encourage the person, and if the person doesn't get it, okay, no problem. But what is, do you think you're smart enough to get the scholarship? Anyway, Trey, there was another person. Oh, I forgot what she talked about. Yes, the ex that did not think it was ex. Now relating to my own. Okay, this person travels to where he's schooled and where his ex, that I thought was ex, but apparently was not ex, stayed, and I was communicating with him, and I noticed that it was being a bit, I don't know, somehow when we are chatting and the rest, and I felt like there's something going on that is probably with the ex. And he was like, no, it's just be cordial, he's with his friends, that he grew up there, blah 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 blah. So that was not like as if I was being too weird or something else. And then okay, he comes back and we see, like I said, he checks his Facebook with my phone and forgot to log out. Then I check messages because I was very confused. I don't know these people that I'm seeing, so I don't know what is going on. Did somebody hack my page, whatever, or account, whatever it's called? And then I see the message or some messages from the ex, and I started reading it because why not? And I was going up, scrolling, and then I was seeing some discussions of meeting together, doing some hanky-panky, and I was like, okay, that is something. And then he comes over and I confront him and I'm like, you said this person was your ex. Apparently you people have not broken up, so apparently I was the side dish without knowing I was the side dish. And when I was complaining about some things, it was like as if I was problematic. Sometimes I can be problematic. I was problematic and I was imagining things, but I was not. And at first, when I confronted him, was like, what happened? How did I know? Like, you left your Facebook account open on my phone, and I looked through it. Anyway, Trey, I was like, I'm done. Did some stupid stunts that when I think about them, I'm like, okay. But then again, my self-esteem at that point, at that period, was bottom bar. I know that. I took a lot of rubbish from a lot of people because I was looking for what I was not supposed to be looking for in the wrong places. So even after we broke up, I was still trying to attach myself and see if maybe he will be sorry, he will come back. And then he started acting in a particular way, said some things, and then I don't know whether I cried. And after I cried, I said, that is it. End of story. I'm not doing this again. And I locked up. That was the end. I think the crying just released me from everything and I just locked up. But when I remember the things that I did after I supposedly broke up, I'm just like, oh, to have low self-esteem is not good at all. Any which way, that's the end of today's video. If you would like to share your own epiphany moment when you decided that, okay, it's time to end this relationship, please leave your comment in the comment section. I would love to read it. I would love to learn from your story. So please leave your comment in the comment section. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe, and don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.